The Crucial 30.
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 It's the Crucial 30.
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 Hello to the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our first live panel with the Crucial 30. You all, we are getting closer and closer to the election. And as we get closer, we want to make sure that we continue to try to shift the narrative one mind at a time. Now, backstage, I have an amazing panel of experts and of people that have really just given their lives to the voting and given their lives to making sure that we all understand why it is important to vote. I am going to bring them up one by one so they can just intro themselves and tell you a little bit about themselves. And then from there, we will start with the questions. I hope you guys are ready. Stay tuned. First up is Miss Marilyn Hemingway.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me.
Yes, Miss Hemingway. And so, yes, can you tell us a little bit about yourself or anything you want to share with the world?
Sure, I'll be happy to. My name is Marilyn Hemingway. I have about 40 years of experience in politics. I was the kid that you saw outside the voting precinct holding up the sign, vote for whomever. My dad and mom were very much community engaged and very much into politics. So I was raised up in politics. My personal journey, I am CEO of the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce and just started the Gullah Geechee Leadership Institute, which is the policy and issues arm of the Gullah Geechee Chamber. And I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yes, that's amazing. I told you all, we have just the success of so many 40 years, everyone, 40 years in what we are about to conquer in the next 30 days. I love it. Miss Hemingway, I'm gonna put you backstage and bring up Donald Gilliard. Donald, how are you?
Hey.
Donald Gilliard, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Donald Gilliard. I'm from Georgetown, South Carolina. I've been in politics probably about 46, 47 years. I work as a political consultant, and I just started my own consulting agencies and doing two state Senate campaigns in South Carolina as we speak.
I love it. Thank you so much, Donald. Backstage, so we can bring up Mr. Hudson.
Hey,
Hi.
how's it going?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Brandon Upson. I'm originally from Aiken, South Carolina. I've been working in politics and policy making and consulting for about 10 years now. Not as seasoned as my big brother and my big sister who's on here. But this year, on June 11th, I started an organization called Amplify Action with the mission of rebuilding political power within our marginalized communities through the civic engagement and mobilization of Black men. And we just hit a major milestone this week of registering 29,619 Black voters since June. So we are looking to do some great work. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to have this conversation.
No, definitely. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. So we're going to bring up everyone else, and I am going to throw out a question, but I really want just the entire community to truly see your faces first as we go through this first question. The first question, let me add all three of you all to the screen, and I'm going to remove myself. The first question is, why is this election so crucial? And you guys take it away.
I think age before beauty. So, Don.
Absolutely.
I'm just slightly older than them. I think this election is crucial for a number of reasons. Obviously, it's the most important election in our lifetime, but everything is predicated on this election. Our court systems, our senior citizens, our right to decency, our humanity, really just who we are. All of it's on the line, and more so than at any time in my lifetime that I've experienced. And it's evidence that we cannot take a back seat. We can't sit this one out. Even though Barack Obama became the first African American president in 2008, I'll tell you, it's just critical. This election here, to me, is even more important than that one. And I know it's a big thing to say that, but I really believe that because we're dealing with the moral decency of this country and the future of where we're going to go.
Well, Donald, I don't think it's a big thing to say that. It's not hyperbole. It's actually the truth. I think this election is about saving our democracy. It's actually bigger than November 3rd. If we don't do what we need to do on November 3rd, we're going to face some serious issues on November 4th. As a matter of fact, we're going to face them on November 2nd. So to me, what you said is very accurate, and I wrap it up to this is saving our democracy. And I do want to add that the Black community, the African American community, we have always been that one demographic in this country that has held this country to its responsibility to the ideals it placed on paper with the Constitution. Even though in the Constitution we recite it as 3/5 of a human. But in spite of that, we have always held this country to its highest ideals that it wrote on paper. And this election is like no other election in our lifetime. And you are correct in saying it is actually bigger than Barack Obama. It is because of we elected Barack Obama that we find ourselves here today in this situation. That's one of the main reasons. This is about saving our democracy.
Yes.
And I'll take it a step further because in the preamble it says all men are created equal. And we find ourselves with the justice system that still goes back to the quote unquote pure interpretation of the law, meaning when they say all men, and they don't write it down and say all white men. What the interpretation is that they meant all white men. What this election is about justice and fairness and ensuring that we actually have people that are serving an elected office who understand that when they wrote all men, they mean all men, and we need to make it also mean all women as well, right? So justice is on the ballot. Fairness is on the ballot. One of my good friends who worked in the civil rights movement from the age of 14, you love Miss Will, Maryland, Robert Ford, former senator from Charleston, South Carolina, he would always tell me that when they marched, when they got beat, when they went to jail, they were fighting for more than just a vote. They were fighting to be treated as first-class American citizens, right? And that fight is still happening. When we look at what's happening right now, and when we, in my organization, like I just said, we just registered over 29,000 Black folks. Every single day we hear someone say that their vote doesn't count. But we have to look at history to understand our present and to make room for where we're going. And our history shows that when Rutherford B. Hayes was elected president, it was by one single vote. And because he was elected, he cut the Reconstruction era. He stopped it to only 12 years. If Reconstruction would have been gone on the way it was supposed to, we would have achieved our first-class citizenship in America before the 1940s. But instead, it's 2020, and we're still fighting for it. And we have to understand that our vote does count. It makes a difference. And this is above democracy for me. This is for our literal lives and our
Mhm.
livelihoods as American citizens.
Very much so. And I think people really need to understand that. One thing I do want to add, Brandon, and I know you meant to add this, that Constitution was written for white land-owning males. And people really need to understand that, because that goes towards income inequality and what you just said. So that's why it's embedded in our Constitution without saying it. So very true what you said, Brandon.
No, definitely. I love the conversation so far, and you all are honing in on so many important details, and just just to move the conversation forward. The narrative shift has 4 core areas: financial stability, education, protection, and also mental health. Knowing that all of these are needed to integrate and shift the narrative in society, how will voting impact that notion?
Well, let's deal with mental health. I sat in bed the other night with my wife, and we were observing the Breonna Taylor massacre, and I was saying to myself, honey, I keep thinking about the police kicking this door down and shooting everybody in the house, and what are we going to do? And then last night, I was coming from the beach, and I got stopped for speeding by a highway patrolman, and I actually was fearful. I mean, when the police got to the car, I said, and he asked for the license. I said, sir, my license is in my back pocket. Is it okay for me to get it out? And he said, yes, I got it out. And then he asked for the registration. I said, sir, the registration is in the glove compartment. Can I open that and get it out? And that's dealing with the mental problems that we're dealing with. So as a Black man, we are fearful just by the color of our skin. And I think it all equates politically. And because I think laws changes, everything changes when you control the vote and you control the people that are in leadership and policy making positions. So it's all relevant. It's all relevant to me in terms of what's going on with us mentally as a Black man in America.
Yeah, definitely. Brandon, Miss Hemingway, any other thoughts?
Speaking of the mental health part of it, this speaks to healthcare. This speaks to the Affordable Care Act, because the Republicans have made their intentions well known that they plan on ending that. So it behooves us to vote so that we gain not only the presidency, it is actually probably more important to have the Senate, so we can hopefully negate what they're about to do with the Supreme Court, because we're going to have to pass some laws. We're going to have to codify the Affordable Care Act in law. We're going to have to codify Roe versus Wade and other laws that deal with our health and mental health. So these, you can actually drill down specifically with your vote and see the laws that voting will impact. With regarding mental health, financial stability, and the financial stability goes to the tax code. We have a system in place that was designed to suppress a certain group of people. And I am currently reading Caste. If you're not reading it, I suggest everyone read Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. And she speaks to, it's a social economic thing. It's also race. You cannot disconnect these two things, but we pay more attention to the racism issue rather than the caste issue. And all of these issues, these 4 core areas, speak to that caste system that's codified in our law. So we must vote so we can elect people that we can hold accountable to change the law and how the system operates. So definitely these 4 core areas are directly impacted by voting.
And if I can add just another book for the list, The Color of Law. That is a book
Mhm.
that is absolutely necessary to read in today. And I have to say this: Amplify Action. We're a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization, so we're not taking any sides other than for our community, right? And when I opened up, I said our goal is to rebuild power within marginalized communities, and you can't rebuild political power without organizing people and organizing money. And when you talk about organizing money, you have to talk about the barriers to upward mobility that have been systematically put in place to stop members of our community from obtaining that quote unquote American dream or that promise that was outlined in our Constitution, right? So in the Code of Law, they talk about how segregation and redlining took place that stopped us from obtaining the number one measure of wealth in this world, and that's land ownership, right? So when we talk about voting, we've already seen with the decision that came out of Kentucky about our dear sister Breonna Taylor, how the attorney general, the DA, and everyone involved who were elected officials did not hold the murderers accountable to their actions. Honestly, they held them accountable to the bullets that did not hit a person more than the ones that did, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when we everything you outlined, it goes right back to what I was saying earlier. Us being able to live a first class citizen life in America. And that means not being fearful of the system that was put in place to protect you, and also having this equal access to upward mobility in this country, which is financially, education, and opportunities for good paying jobs and decent living.
No, definitely. And I appreciate that so much. And also just to let everyone know and the world know, we are also a nonprofit organization. And so we are definitely looking at all views, and we cannot endorse anyone. However, we can endorse values and equity and inclusion and everything that aligns to that. And so I do want to put that statement out there. But yes, all three of you all have just said so much from the mental health standpoint, from the finance. All four of these core areas are truly integrated into how we live and who we are. And so I know that right now everyone is focused on Biden and Trump. Everyone is focused on the presidential election. But what else is at stake? Can you elaborate on what else is at stake when you go into that ballot and actually see what are we choosing? What are we doing?
Well,
And
I want
go ahead.
to buttress something Marilyn said earlier in terms of the Supreme Court. And so the election of the Senate is very crucial. I spent 20 years in federal prison, and so I know all about filing your 2255 motions, your writs into the courts, into the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, to certiorari with the United States Supreme Court. And so I know how politics plays in those decisions with those judges. You would think that the law is the law, but the interpretation of the law differs. And I'm telling you, they're not going to get a fair shake. You got those conservative judges, and we used to hope that we could get a case out of the Ninth Circuit, out of the California Circuit, and we could try to use that case to see if we can get back into court because it was a more progressive liberal circuit. And so the Supreme Court is at stake. And I'm hoping, and I'll say it right now, I'm really hoping if we have a change in leadership in this country, I'm hoping that they will increase the Supreme Court from 9 to 11. Yeah, I've said it. And I believe that we have to do that in order to get some justice and fairness. But they're doing everything they can to prevent people from voting. They're doing everything they can. Look at Florida. The state of Florida approved a referendum to allow convicted felons to be able to vote again. And so when that happened, the other side decided that, well, we're going to put some stipulations, so they're going to have to pay any fines. I mean, it's a poll tax. I mean, when you talk about marching, I mean, what they're doing in denying those guys the right to vote, I mean, really, it's like 1920s all over again.
Absolutely. You know, I'm not going to drop all the books I've been reading, but the new Jim Crow talks about the prison industrial complex in America.
You're muted, Brandon.
You got it, Brandon?
There you go.
Yes. Okay. But when we talk about what else is at stake other than the presidential race, right? We have, again, all of these folks who are elected to be authorities when it comes to the legal system, right? Everything from Supreme Court, which will be a Senate decision pushed by the president. Then we have city mayors who appoint the chief of police. We have sheriffs who govern a county. We have DAs and solicitors who interpret the law. And we have judges on the bench who interpret the law any way that they see fit, right? And when we talk about interpretation, we've already seen that there are elected officials in this country who do not believe that Black lives matter. So if we as a citizenship believe that Black lives matter, we must vote and vote like our lives depend on it, because it literally does. If we don't vote, there are going to be other people elected to make decisions for our communities, and we won't have a say in it. No one can take our power away from us without us giving it away. And when we don't vote, when we don't add our voices to the number, that's exactly what we're doing. So if I can go back to the question, what else is at stake? Our lives and our livelihood is at stake when it comes to this election, and not just the presidential election, but all the way down to our local municipality elections.
I want to say I agree with Brandon and Donald. What I was going to say is everything is at stake. And I want to start on the local elections. It's not just municipality, the city, and we often forget there are elected offices such as water and sewer. And let me tell you how that connects to life. Water is life, because if you don't have water in 3 days, you're going to die. It's directly impacting life. It also impacts life because we have to have clean water. And the next wars will be fought over water. Water is going to be more valuable than oil, which recent wars have been fought over oil or access to oil. It's always connected to the land or to the water. And that's just really kind of drilling down on a particular commission. But in Georgetown, we elect our water and sewer commission members, and no one thinks about that. We just blow it off. You know, they never have competition. They just stick their name on the ballot, and they get elected because no one else is running. But that is a crucial position. So when I say everything, I mean everything. From local all the way up to president is very important, because the laws that the president signs, they trickle down and impact that water and sewer commission. The laws that the Congress puts in place trickle down and impact that water and sewer commission, and the city and the county and the state and so on. So that means we have to be mindful and get informed about every single position. Maybe not necessarily of the candidate, but if you understand the position and its impact, you will select the correct candidate, because they're going to show themselves, you know? And that's really where you need to start. We need to get an educated voting base. And I do believe everybody has the right to vote, but it is our responsibility as political consultants and political parties that we educate voters on basic civics and government.
And can I
You
add
know,
one
because that
small
impacts
thing?
everything.
You know, it's one thing to get our issues at the table. People always say we need a seat at the table, but it's another thing to get our issues into policy so that they can impact laws, right? And everything that we're saying on here, everybody who's watching, the only way we can get our issues into policy so it can impact laws is if we use our most powerful tool in democracy, and that is our vote, which adds up to be our voice.
Yes.
Which I want to ask this question of Brandon very quickly, and Donald. When you show up to vote, well, when you vote, what are you doing? You're showing up. So to show up, you have to show up not just only when you vote, but at the city council meeting, the county council meeting, the school board meeting, the water and sewer commission. You got to show up, people. You got to show up to vote. And then you got to go from that point and become an engaged citizen. So it's actually bigger than voting. It's becoming an engaged citizen. Voting is just one step. And I think older generations, and I'm just going to put it out there on the floor, and I think somewhat our generation, we have failed our young people by not educating them on policies and issues. All too often, the political parties have just told them to show up and vote straight party ticket. And what we should have been doing all along is educating them on the policies and the issues, which is actually one of the reasons I started the Gullah Geechee Leadership Institute, because I recognize we've got to get educated about these policies and issues. And then I trust the people that they'll vote the right way.
No, definitely, Miss Hemingway. And, you know, oftentimes I talk to, you know, our older generation, and it's time to pass on the baton as well. And so that is one of the main reasons why the Narrative Shift was also founded, was so that we can educate on all of these topics, and why we even pushed up our launch date to impact this election, because at the end of the day, you're right, it is everything is on the line, not just the presidency, not just the Senate, but all the way down to, just like what Ms. Hemingway said, and even what Brandon said, of just, you know, even down to the water, even down to our laws, even down to, you know, Donald jumped off, but he will be back soon. There he goes. But even down to just the way that our judicial system is ran, comes down to a vote, everyone. And so let's dig in just a little bit more. So when we think about the vote itself, and how many people in the past had a negative perception that their vote doesn't count, how do we tackle that? And how do we allow everyone that is watching now and will watch this over as it's repeated, how do we tell them that, yes, your vote does count?
One of the things I think we need to stop doing, and I'll say this quickly, then let Brandon add on, is we need to stop shaming people into voting. Shame has never worked. And that's something that we need to stop doing. And all too often we hear, vote because our ancestors, you know, we cannot guilt people into voting. We cannot shame them into voting. You know, if you don't vote, you don't have a right to have your voice heard. Well, yes, you do, because you're a human being. And just simply being human, you have a right to have your voice heard. And of all people, Black people should not be saying that when this country was founded on the fact that they wanted us to be less than human. So I say that, but I don't say that I don't want people not to get registered and not to vote. I say that we need to meet people where they are and understand, why are they not voting? And one of the reasons they're not voting is we are not educating them. We are not engaging them as citizens. And when my mother was teaching at Howard High School back in the 60s, and she would tell me that they were charged to go visit the houses of their students so they could know their circumstances, where they came from, so they could be better teachers and understand how these students had to learn, and what they learned in school, what they took back to home. Because home, your first educators, your first teachers are your parents or whoever is in your household. So and I say all this to say, we need to stop shaming people into voting, because that means we're not doing what we're responsible for, and that's educating them. And I just wanted to make sure that piece got out there, because all too often we don't talk about that.
Well, definitely.
Yeah. And I got knocked off just now because my family and friends see me on Facebook talking to y'all, and they want to call me and say they see me. But that just made me think about, community, right? When voting is a habit that we have to get everybody on in our community. It's also something that we have to hold each other accountable when we don't vote. And we also have to encourage each other when we do, right? It is a habit that's reinforced just like anything else, right? So when we go out and we have conversations, we're not saying we got to vote because our ancestors fought, bled, sweat, marched, and died for this to happen, because some of these young folks don't care. I'm at the tail end of the millennials. So when I'm talking to 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds, and they look at me straight up and down and, say what they say, sometimes I don't get it. But it taught me very early in this process of doing voter registration that we have to do more. And that more is like what Marilyn said, connecting the dots between how their vote impacts their lives. And more important, many of us are impacted most by what's in our pocket now and what's going to be in our pocket later. There was an article that came out today talking about how the Trump campaign is investing heavily in Black men. Why Black men? Because Black men do not trust the system as it is today, because it has not proved itself to be trustworthy for us. It promises one thing, sets a standard. When we meet it, it moves the goalpost, right? Or when we are murdered in the street by the people who are supposed to protect us, those people get off with murder. And if we were to even brandish a gun in public, we would be serving time for it, right? So, like, if I'm in Denmark, South Carolina, I talk to folks about how their vote for their local elections and their state elections will impact the quality of their water, because tested water in Denmark, South Carolina shows that it is just as bad as Flint, Michigan. If I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, I talk to folks about how their vote can impact and slow or curb the gentrification of their communities. There have been large swaths of communities throughout Memphis. I almost called Memphis Chocolate City the other day when I was there, because I saw all the beautiful Black people. I felt like I was at home. But they are being driven out of prime areas in the city that they've been in for generations upon generations, right? In Alabama, the same exact thing. In the birthplace of the civil rights movement, there are people who are still not having access to the American dream. You have people, Black folks, living in communities next to poor white folks who are living on a dirt road and a single wide trailer. That white person, that single wide trailer, believes that they're middle class. That Black person in that home believes that they'll never have the opportunity to live out a middle class life. There's something absolutely wrong here, but the solution, from where I see it, from my vantage point, is us unifying our vote, unifying our voice, and showing up every single time.
Exactly. And it's so powerful, especially when you think about just that younger generation and that younger vote. And one of the panels that is coming up, and we're going to talk to Generation X and really hone in on just what are they thinking and from their perspective, because we can definitely say this is the way that y'all are thinking, but let's go ahead and get their voice heard as well. And so when you think about that, and when you think about just, that the 18 to, I'm going to say 30-year-old, what, just from your experience, because we have so much experience here on this panel right now. And I know I'm throwing in an extra question, but what encouragement could you give them outside of your vote counts and get out there?
If I can say this, because when we talk to them from Amplify Action, we let them know that you are one of the most intelligent generations of our lifetime. You are the most connected generation of our lifetime. You are the most civically active generation and demographic of our lifetime. You don't have to believe the negative stereotypes that are being published and promoted about you, because you are great and you deserve to be treated that way. But you cannot feed into the narrative and allow them to strip your essence away from you. Like when we say that you are kings and queens, that is real. Look at the statistics. We are not as bad as they say we are. Actually, we're great. So we have to empower our next generation so that they can own their power. So often we see generations of people like my uncles. When I came back from Iraq in 2007, what got me started in all this political space I'm in now is one of my uncles telling me that his vote didn't count. And I just came back from Iraq where I had to pull security on an election where people were literally risking their lives, dipping their fingers in purple ink to cast their ballot, knowing good and well that ink would mark them for the next 3 days. We had to pull security because that was the highest threat on their lives. And I saw them wrapped around the block and down as far as the eye could see to cast their ballot. Then I come home to a family member who's convinced that he does not have the power to have a voice in what happens in his community. So we have to continue to empower each other and motivate each other to the polls. And that does not exclude our young people. We have to tell them that they're great and that they count.
No, definitely. Definitely.
I'm waiting for Donald to say something since we haven't heard from him in a minute.
Donna, you're on mute. Donald, unmute yourself. Miss Hemingway, you want to go ahead? I'm gonna message him.
All right. I want to say that two things. We are all educators. Not only are we kings and queens, we are all educators. You know, there are two terms we need to look at: schooling and education. All too often, we actually talk about schooling. We really don't talk about education. And every single one of us, we are educators. So that means we need to watch what we do and be mindful of what we say. And that's when we talk to these young folks, we don't need to talk to them in condescending terms or that we know better. We may know more, doesn't necessarily mean we know better. So we need to be mindful of being educators. And that means sharing our history, sharing who we are, and as Brandon said, empowering these young people. And then once we're empowered, or the young people are empowered, once we all are empowered, because I get empowered every day from someone or some situation, then we must become advocates for our community. So this is what you can do beyond voting and beyond being an engaged citizen. You need to become an advocate for your community, because we have wonderful things about our community that we don't talk about. All too often, we focus on the negative and what's wrong, and we don't focus on the solutions. And we can get ourselves out of this. It's going to take a while. You know, we have to learn how to pace ourselves, but we have to become advocates for our community because no one else will. And I just wanted to add that piece too. And I'm assuming Donald is with us now.
Definitely.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'm just, I went from being a panelist to admiring this tremendous knowledge that you have on this panel today. I remembered meeting Brandon, and I just, I found out that he was the state campaign manager for a candidate running for governor. And I just thought that was just the most unique, wonderful thing, because, I came from an era where we didn't get to run any campaigns. We had to work in the fields. We were field directors. That's what we did. We didn't run the show. And when I saw this young brother at 30 years old had gotten the position, as a campaign manager, I wanted to be a part of it, and just work with him, and just amazed at the knowledge. And I know that our future is bright. I really, really do. Marilyn, I know her father. Her father was a mentor to me many years ago. And so I'm just enjoying the knowledge that's being shared. So I done went from a panelist to a spectator, enjoying being around these incredibly bright people.
No, I love it. I love it. And I know that, you know, we're winding down. We want to respect everyone's time, and we strictly said 45 minutes. So just, you know, with the last question, it's just what advice, because you guys have given advice this entire 45 minutes. But if you had some last words to the world, what advice or what last statement do you want the world to hear from you?
I want to say, if you're thinking about not voting, I just read this from a friend of mine on Facebook. He posted that we need to realize that a closed mouth will not be fed. So if you don't vote, then you're closing out all these avenues that will feed you intellectually, emotionally, mentally, financially, economically. And that's the bottom line. I think everyone wants to be fed. If you do not eat, you will perish. Now is not the time to outsmart yourself. And that's what I'm afraid people are going to do. They want to be cosmopolitan and smart without understanding the consequences of that. Now is the time to be educated. Now is the time to really look at the investment that you're making in yourself. Now is the time to open your mouth and ears so that you are going to be fed. And I truly, truly, truly believe in my people. And I know once you open your ears, your mind, your mouth, and get the knowledge, that you're going to make the right decision. And I hope that decision in the short term is voting. And in the long term is to become an engaged citizen and make the right decision that we all face right now. Because right now, it truly is a matter of life and death. It truly is. What side of history will you be on? It truly is. What are you willing to die for? You cannot take that lightly, folks. This is what we're facing. So don't close your mouth, because you won't be fed if you do.
Wonderful.
And I guess I'll go next. What I hope that people will get from this video is that this is a critical time in all of our lives, and the work that we do today will create a future that we'll pass on to the next generation. I know right now we're talking about millennials and Gen Xers, but there's a generation that comes after the next one and after the next one, and they are going to reap what we sow. And if we are not fertilizing the ground and using our God-given rights, privileges, and voices, we're going to allow someone else to lay the ground for what the next generation is going to receive. Now, are we going to allow them to the next generation to be right back where we are? Or are we going to finally make the change that we've been fighting for generations, for 400 years in this country, to be and live as first-class American citizens? I want you, if you're watching, to know that you are powerful. There is power in your voice, and most importantly, there's power in your vote to do something big, to change your community into what you want it to be. Whether that's you wanting to be able to drive down the street and not feel like you are terrorized by the police. That means you being able to go to a job and feeling that you have an equal access to a good paying job despite what your background is, or your children being able to go to the school that you want them to go to and get the quality education that will grant them a quality of life. Like, everything that we encounter on a daily life is impacted by politics, and you cannot escape it. So you might as well dive into it head first and take someone with you so that you can impact your community and not allow other people to dictate your community for you.
And I'm talking to myself. Thank you so much for those words. Powerful. Donald, what do you have? What are your last statements as we close out in this next minute?
It's all about the narrative shift, and we have to change the narrative of what's going on in this country. We really do. And so much is depending on voting in this election. We got people that are hurting, people that are living in deplorable conditions, guys that are left behind in prison who are hoping for another chance at life. All of it's on the ballot, all of it's relative, and we have to change the narrative shift of this country, and we have to do it now, because truly, in the last 4 years, it has changed, and so we have to do everything we can to rein that back in. And so voting is my life. I wake up in the morning, I go to bed, it's all about voting. When I post on Facebook, it ain't no socialization. It's about educating people and asking people to get involved and to get engaged. And that's all I got to say. Just, everything. My grandbaby Aubrey, I look at her and I'm like, come on, I want a better country for her. I do. I really want a better country for her. And so we've got to go blood. I'm not worried about social distancing when it comes to voting. My wife and I, we were in that line yesterday at 9:00, gloves and masks on, ready to do our part, and then left there to bring some other people to vote. So please, y'all, let's get involved. This is important, and we need everybody on board.
And can I add one last thing?
Yes, Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, folks, instead of my name on here, I put our website where folks can go and check their voter registration. They can check their voting poll and even get other tools of how to vote safely and track their absentee ballot. The website is ampourvote.com, and that is a utility. We made it as such so that folks can have a safe election day.
Wonderful.
Good job, Brandon. I need to I need to learn that habit because I have websites too.
Yes. Well, Ms. Hemingway, if you send us over your website, we will make sure that it gets out to the world during this, this crucial 30 days. And so as we sign off, I just want to say thank you. You all were our first panel of the 30 days, and a very important one just because of all of your lineage that you have brought to the world of voting and all of your hard work that you have done thus far. This has not been your first rodeo. You all have been on the ground in the trenches for so long, and we just respect that. And I promise you that the torch will be passed, and we will keep the light going every day, one mind at a time. And so I just want to say thank you. Now, coming up with the narrative shift, we have our national prayers from all faiths on Wednesdays, and then we're back live on Thursdays with our small business panel. How is voting going to impact small businesses all over this country? And so there's going to be a lot of content. There's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of faces that you see. But regardless of who you see and what you hear, we want to make sure that we are changing one mind at a time. With that being said, we sign off to you. We tell you, go out and change the narrative. Allow it to shift. All right, y'all. We will see you again here on Thursday evening. And until then, stay blessed.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody. Wonderful. Great, baby. It went great.
The Crucial 30.
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 It's the Crucial 30.
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 The Crucial